Arizona Coyotes avoid arbitration with forward Lawson Crouse. I'm going to be talking about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Coyotes. I am your host, Carl Pavlock. Just going to be me for today. Want to thank you for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I also do want to say that today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Just going to be me for today's episode. It's going to be a little bit of a quicker one. Robin is unfortunately still moving. She is leaving the much reviled city of Tucson. I kid, of course, but college rivalries die hard. And she is moving up to the valley, which is great, but that takes a lot of time. Having moved in the valley myself, I know how long that can take. I can only imagine how long it takes going from another city. But this is a big one. So I did want to just hop on, share a couple of my thoughts about it. It's something that we've been talking about a lot in the lead up to it because it is probably the biggest Coyote season of the offseason, or Coyote story of the offseason, and that is Lawson Crouse. First reported by Elliot Friedman and then confirmed by Craig Morgan, Lawson Crouse has signed a deal with the Coyotes. That deal is for 5 years. It will give him an average of $4.3 million per season. Craig Morgan actually has a breakdown. Year 1, $3.6 million. Year 2, $4.6. Year 3, $4.6. Year 4, $4.8. Year 5, $3.8. I haven't seen if there's going to be any kind of additional clauses in there yet. But, 5 years at $4.3 million, which is a bit kind of unusual. Going into the arbitration, it looked like the team was looking for $2.5 million. Crouse as a player was looking for $4 million. That was for 1 year. This is, of course, longer, so Crouse is getting a little bit more than he was expecting. Going to be taking some of his key years of unrestricted free agency. So just, hit the prime years of his career. So he's getting paid a little bit more. Great to see. I believe Craig Morgan actually tweeted out that this happened in the actual room where they do arbitration earlier today, because this all happened around 8 or so Arizona time. Krause's camp and the Coyotes contingent were in the room to start arbitration hearing when the deal was struck. So that is just kind of insane. Something I had talked about weeks ago. It was probably last month. I don't even remember the exact date. Was if it gets to the point where their arbitration date is announced and they're still not a deal, maybe start to worry. Then this Friday's episode, we're like, okay, it's going to get done over the weekend. If it doesn't, maybe start to worry. This actually got to them sitting in the room, and the Coyotes tweeted out a picture of the signing. Crouse is in his nice suit, looking like a player who's about to argue, what he's worth in front of the arbitrator. And I just can't really believe that it took so long for it to go through. But thankfully, General Manager Bill Armstrong was able to get it done. Definitely, I would say his first big extension as a general manager. One of his biggest tests as the general manager of the Coyotes, and he passed. It's a good deal. It's honestly less than I thought he would get over a short-term deal, and giving the extra 5 years, that is just phenomenal. So I'm very happy with the deal. I anxiously await talking to Robin about the deal when she gets back. Hopefully later this week we can have nice talk, breaking everything down. But before I get started, I do need to take a quick break because I have a message from our friends. Our next partner has a product that I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I really don't have the time and I'm trying to get healthier. The past couple months have been a bit tough. I feel a bit low on energy. I want to get better, gut health. I want to lose some weight. So what I started doing is using their Project AG1. And more importantly, I started using the tincture that they sent us. That tincture is great. Just a couple of drops in water every single morning. It works really well, gives you a nice boost. The price is going to cost you less than $3 a day. Plus, you're investing in your health. It's cheaper if you have like a coffee habit. I have an energy drink habit, which I'm really trying to kick, and so it is definitely a good thing. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat paleo, keto, vegan, or dairy free, or gluten free, and it contains 1 gram of sugar. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a full 1 year supply of the immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packets with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutrition insurance. It's a great product. I like to use it myself, so feel free to check it out. But Carl Pavlock back with more to discuss on this beautiful Monday. It's not too hot in Arizona. I've been outside a couple of times. Just came from lunch. Very nice. Perfect day for a signing of Lawson Crouse. As have we've mentioned in previous episodes, Crouse is a big part of this team, and you really saw it with some of the talk on Twitter about this deal. Bill Armstrong has talked about Crouse as a type of player that he wants to have, and looking at the players that Bill Armstrong drafted, you see a lot of Lawson Crouse in them. Bigger guys who can be physical but still have some skill. That is Crouse in a nutshell. He has also definitely emerged as an on-ice leader, and I imagine some off-ice too. It's not really something that we get to see as much, but he is definitely serving in a leadership role. He wore an A couple times this season with the Coyotes, cycling through assistant captains or alternate captains, whichever you prefer. It's great to see Crouse get kind of rewarded with that. I have seen plenty of talk about a potential captaincy, not from anyone who actually has a vote in the matter, of course. But there's still talk, and it's one of those situations where I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. I also saw that Clayton Keller, did a congrats to Lawson Crouse. Happy to have the sheriff back for another year. It is really great to see. I love the fact that the team is coming together like this. Honestly, I was a little worried about this one, especially going into this morning where there wasn't a deal in place. You expected it to happen. The fact that it got all the way to the room with the arbitrator, that is potentially very concerning. I like the fact that Bill Armstrong is able to work to get things done last minute. Personally, that's how I like to work, very last minute. So see a lot of myself in that. But I also know that can have some downsides. And Crouse specifically, I've mentioned before, Bill Armstrong wants him around. But Bill Armstrong also said that Jacob Chychrun wasn't tradable. And then we spent a whole season with rumors that Chychrun was potentially on the trade block. It is one of the areas that I have, maybe a little bit of criticism of Bill Armstrong. That, he says one thing and then it doesn't always, come to be that way. And if you're a player, you want some sense of stability, especially with the year that the Coyotes are going to be having, where they don't have an arena yet. They're playing in a college arena. Like you want something. You want to know like who's going to be there. And that's difficult because the team's rebuilding and really anyone could be shipped out if the price is right. But Crouse was able to get re-signed, and it shows that Bill Armstrong is true to his word, that he likes a player like Lawson Crouse. He respects a player like Lawson Crouse. Crouse is someone that he wants sticking around for 5 years. Like, that is great to see. That is a tremendous vote of confidence in Lawson Crouse. And it's not too much. 4.3 million sounds like a lot, but it's really not compared to some of the other players. He's definitely making less than Clayton Keller, making a little bit less than Nick Schmaltz. He's one of the higher paid Coyotes players, I will say that, and one of them who is actually going to stick around. I know the team last season acquired a couple of aging veterans who had high cap hits. They've kind of done the same so far, but I think Crouse is on a very good team-friendly deal. It shouldn't be too hard for Lawson Crouse to replicate kind of the success and make that deal make sense financially. Now, that is definitely something that there is potential to be concerned about. Crouse had an off year this season prior, came back, had a very nice bounce back year, but a lot of that was spent on the line with Phil Kessel. So I am a bit concerned if he can replicate it, if he could have another 20-goal season. I think his line mates are definitely going to play a big role in that. I think that the team has kind of moved beyond the idea of playing him with Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. It never seemed to really work out under two coaching regimes. And I don't know if they're going to have a guy like Dylan Guenther with the team next season. They're certainly not going to have Logan Cooley. So that to me says, hey, Crouse may end up playing with some lower skilled guys. It may be difficult for him to replicate the same kind of 20 goals that he had last season, or matching his career high with 14 assists. Hopefully he could have more than 14 assists, but there's definitely areas of concern for that. But I think that this is a justifiable risk, even if Crouse isn't a perennial 20-goal guy. I think he brings a lot. He's only 25 years old. He will hopefully only continue to improve. But I think this is a good deal. And I do want to go a little bit more into it. But first, got to take another quick break. Another quick word from our sponsors. This time, it's from our friends at Built Bar. And I have to ask, have you tried the Puffs? If not, you are depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And they have the new flavor. You've probably heard me talk about it before. It is the cookie dough chunk puffs. They have a nice chewy texture. They have real cookie dough chunks. And they're covered in 100% real chocolate. I love cookie dough. It is like classically one of my favorite ice cream flavors. I like that mix of the cookie dough and that kind of sugar. And then you get that bite of chocolate in there. I think that is the perfect combination of flavors. And Built Bar has you covered. All of their bars are made with protein, and they only have 160 calories, 15 grams of protein in them. And you can get a box from Built.com sent right to you or your family if you want to treat them. I will say, just because we're in Arizona, it's a little bit hot. The Built Bars that I've gotten, especially the Puffs, throw them in the fridge, throw them in the freezer after you get them, just to keep everything re-solidified. It's insanely hot, and it's in a 100-degree mailbox. You know what to expect. You live in Arizona. What I want you to do, go to Built.com, and you can use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. So, again, Carl Pavlock, going to be a bit of a shorter one, but just want to go through some final thoughts on this one. The Lawson Crouse 5-year deal. First, I do need to say that there is one other restricted free agent that the Coyotes have. That is center Barrett Hayton. Now, Barrett Hayton does not have arbitration rights, so expect him to get a lot less than Crouse. Also, imagine maybe a 1 to 2 year deal. I do think that Hayton is a key piece of this Coyotes team, at least for now. Sure, the team has Logan Cooley, Connor Gigi, but the team definitely needs centers, and Barrett Hayton is a big part of that. I think Schmaltz is probably going to be playing on the wing pretty much full time moving forward, unless there's injuries. And even if Hayton doesn't start the season with Schmaltz and Keller, if they want to keep that Travis Boyd energy, because they did have such good chemistry during the regular season, I understand that. But it does seem like sooner or later, Hayton is going to get that top center spot just because he is probably the team's best center. Earlier in the season, if the team does elect to go, the way I think, keeping Boyd with Schmaltz and Keller, I would be interested to see if Travis Boyd, sparks up some chemistry with Lawson Crouse. As I've said, playing on a line with Phil Kessel definitely gave him some skill. Phil Kessel isn't the player that he once was, but he still could put the puck where he needed it to. He still had tremendous hockey IQ. So I can see, Hayton being a bit of a substitute for that. Hopefully won't cause such a big drop in production for Crouse. I'd love to see him set a new career high in goals and in assists, because 20, it's good. I love the 20 goal mark. I love 20 goal players. I've seen the Coyotes go through a season without any 20 goal players. I've seen players, fight for contracts when they haven't reached that plateau. It's a big one. And I'd like to see Crouse replicate it. Next, just kind of, what else is there for Bill Armstrong to really do? And I think that the big area that he is going to be looking at right now is acquiring a goaltender. After Barrett Hayton is signed, get that done. The team needs another goaltender. They have Karel Vejmelka signed for 3 years, and honestly, that's kind of it. The other, goalies in the system, Anson Thornton, David Tendek, Prosvetov, Gillis, I don't see them really being, a fit for a backup goaltender for the Coyotes this upcoming season. It just, we talked about it before. Vejmelka seems to play better when he has a guy who can rely on to go out there and play a couple of games, when he is not the number one guy. And that is perfectly fine. I think especially for a player like Vejmelka, like that makes sense that he doesn't, that he needs a couple games to sit every once in a while, that he isn't the type of goalie who freaks out over internal competition, that he seems to, be able to thrive with that competition, because competition also means that you work together. Like, I don't, imagine him competing for ice time or spots. I imagine he's going to get, the games that he needs to. Hopefully we get a nice, good, tandem. That'd be nice. But I'm very interested to see. I do kind of hope that General Manager Bill Armstrong brings in, a veteran, maybe overpaid veteran for a couple of years, just because, that seems to fit. Get an asset with it. Get a goalie who can basically play with, with Vejmelka for the next couple seasons. That'd be good. And then, I still think the team needs to do something with the defense. They have 9 defensemen right now: Chychrun, Gostisbehere, Nemeth, Brown, Stetcher, Mayo, Mosier, Kolyachonok, and Deneen. Some of those players will, of course, be sent down to the Tucson Roadrunners, but that just seems like a very incomplete blue line for me. Forwards, I'm a bit happier with the forwards. I could see them bringing in, a couple more players, maybe a couple of veterans, but I think they're in a pretty good spot. honestly, like the Coyotes are still a long way away from being a Stanley Cup contender, but most of that work is slow work. It's just watching players develop, making sure they're doing the right things on that end. So I don't see there needing to be any kind of major changes. I don't necessarily see any kind of blockbuster moves coming unless, like I said, they get like a veteran goalie that could potentially be kind of a big deal. I am of the mind that the team is probably going to hold on to Chikrin for at least the start of the season. God, I hope so. Just, I want them to have a conversation with Chikrin. Just be like, hey, we finished this Crouse thing. We're keeping him along for long term. You guys have been on the same team for a long time. So hopefully that's good for you. Hopefully that shows like a commitment to the longer term players. We had that rough year to start off, but we're behind that now. But that's really it. Both for, I would say, Bill Armstrong's to-do list and for this episode of the podcast. Like I said, it's a bit of a shorter one, but I wanted to get some immediate reactions out there because Crouse signing was a very big thing that Bill Armstrong needed to do, and it's done. And so wanted to make sure that you guys had all my thoughts. If you like what you heard, definitely make sure to subscribe to the podcast. We are on YouTube, so if you want to see me kind of rambling with this one, feel free to. We're also on all major podcast apps, so get it. Stitcher, iTunes, Google, you know where podcasts are. You can also follow us on Twitter. We are LO_Coyotes. We're also on Instagram. If you want to follow me, you can follow at Carl Pavlock FFH. I am also the managing editor for 5 for Howling, which is the word 5, the number 4, word Howling, if you want to check it out. That tends to be where more of the hockey stuff is. So it's usually where I would send people. But, feel free to do all that kind of stuff, do all the podcast things. You like podcasts, you're listening to this one. But I do want to thank everyone for listening. I want to make sure that you guys are staying safe out there, make sure you're staying cool during that hot Arizona summer, and don't forget to howl on.